So I did the coaching with him. We did the whole program as his social coach, and he had an amazing experience with the peers program, and that's where I really fell in love with this amazing program. So he started making friends. He joined a team sport that he'd never done before. He did up his CV and took it down the road and got himself a little part-time job. I just watched his confidence bloom. So he got really a lot more confident, a lot more socially savvy, new friends, started emceeing school events, full turnout at his birthday parties, and he has at every birthday party since then. And he also got really confident in trying new things as well. So I really saw a big change in him, and so did his teachers. And then I got a school report that said some of these things, bright, kind. But the thing that really stood out for me in this particular school report was when it said his social skills have grown exponentially. So his teachers were seeing it as well, and it was really noticeable. So I did the training at UCLA myself, and now I'm a certified peers provider here in Australia. And I started my business in 2022, Social Skills Australia. And this is what we do. We help teens and adults make and keep friends and gain confidence and self-esteem. And this is what we're here for. So thank you for being here. You are in the right place. If you're worried your young person doesn't have friends or seems to struggle to keep friends, if your young person often doesn't know what to say in social situations, they're missing out on invitations to parties or get-togethers, or people don't come to their parties and get-togethers, if they're online and gaming too much, they're a bit depressed or anxious or perhaps getting bullied at school, and if they're ready to learn new skills. So this is a really important part of our enrolment process. It's not just about whether you parents are ready for them to do this program. You probably are, and that's probably why you're here. We will only enroll young people if they are ready to learn new skills themselves. It's really important. So you're in the right place if you're curious about how social skills training actually works. And if you're willing to participate yourself by helping your young person learn new skills as their social coach. So in our peers program, we train the parents as much as we train the young people, and you become their best resource. You're in the wrong place today. If you don't think social skills are really that important, if your young person isn't really interested in learning social skills, or they've already got plenty of friends, or if you'd like them to learn social skills, but you really don't have time to be their social coach. So parent involvement is a really fundamental part of the program, particularly for the adolescent groups. Okay, so this is interactive. So I want to ask you all, let me know in the chat, what is your young person having the most difficulty with at the moment with social skills and making friends? Once we know that, this is a good way for us to determine, is this the right program for your young person? So for some people, yes, they've had a fallout with their friends. Maybe they had some friends, they've had a fallout. That's a common story we hear from young people, from parents when they contact us. Or their young person has transitioned from primary school to high school, and that gap becomes really apparent between the really socially savvy young people and the young people that need explicit instruction. Sometimes they're just really isolated, and particularly in the school holidays. We've just finished the school holidays here in Queensland, and that's when parents, we get a lot of calls then when they realise my young person actually doesn't have anyone to hang out with in the holidays. They might say they've got friends at school, but no one to hang out with on the weekends. Often it's kids that are sitting alone, eating lunch on their own, or they're getting bullied. Would anyone like to tell us what your young person's having the moment? You can unmute and just say if you'd prefer. I'll open the floor so we can make this interactive if you like. Otherwise, we'll go on and I can tell you what we hear the most common. So here's one thing I'm going to touch on.
We have one question, Chris, in the chat.
Oh, we do. Making friends and sustaining conversations. Yeah, thanks, Mark. Yes, for sure. So making friends is what we absolutely do in the program. So we take our young people through a sequence of lessons that are very carefully engineered through conversation skills, starting conversations, keeping conversations going. In week 4, we look at how to find your peers. Who are your people that like what you like? And then we get them to join a social group and make friends, and definitely sustaining conversations. So we learn skills like asking follow-up questions, how to pivot from one topic to another, how to make sure we're not always talking about the one thing we want to talk about and it's a bit repetitive. So often what we find is that young people inadvertently doing something that's pushing other people away. And as we go through the lessons, we don't tell them explicitly what they're doing wrong, but they have an internal realization as we explain some of the risky things and helpful things. And often they have a realization of, oh, I'm using humor inappropriately, or oh, I'm too repetitive, or I'm policing, or I'm interrupting too much. And they find out that's what was going on for them. Yeah, so I've got some more comments here. Great, comments are coming in. So Sharon, trouble making friends, feels isolated, too much gaming. Yeah, for sure. So often young people would turn to gaming. Sometimes gaming's used to regulate, and that's actually okay in small amounts. But if they turn to gaming because they're isolated, then what we want for your young person, Sharon, is to come out of the room and start participating first in family life, in our groups, in practicing with you, and then using what they've learned in real life as well. And Lisa said, reading social situations, absolutely, and behaving and interacting appropriately. Yeah, desperate to fit in, but finds it so hard. Thanks, Lisa. Yes, so a common thing we hear from parents is that their young person struggles to read social situations. So here's the thing about us human beings. We're quite complicated. We often say something very different from what we mean, but our body language never lies. So we teach our young people to read the concrete behaviors. So if someone's looking at you and smiling and asking you questions back and that kind of thing, then they want to participate in this conversation. If they're kind of talking to you, but it's one word answers, I'm going to show an example in a moment, looking at their watch, looking away, then that's a cue. That's a cue that I don't want to talk to you anymore. When you know what concrete behaviors to look for, it's very clear how to read the room. But the problem is we just assume that everyone knows how to read those social cues. We absolutely teach that very explicitly. So Shafia has said derailing from the topic and making his point very long. Yes, very much so. I remember my son, we were in a blended family here with 4 kids. This is a few years ago. And remember on the dinner table, he's quite bright, my son, and he was explaining in much detail, I think it was about how atom bombs are made. And it was a very long explanation. It was like a 25-minute explanation. None of us understood it. And I was watching him. I let him play it out. So I thought, how long will this go for? And it went forever. And the other kids around the table were like, we don't know what you're talking about. So teach how to read the room. So those conversations are great if you're with other people that are really into that kind of technology. That's awesome. But of course, around the dinner table with other kids that aren't into that kind of thing, everyone was giving him lots of concrete behaviors to show they were not interested in that conversation anymore. And at that time, he didn't know how to read it. So we teach them how to read the room, how to switch conversations, how to show interest in what the other person's talking about with follow-up questions, how to share the conversation so that it's not just a one-way conversation. That's a great example. Kenneth said my son doesn't get invited to things. He's done lots of sports as groups, but not organised. There's no friend contact. Yes. He's been others also. What was it gone? Yes, that's right. So often we find that young people are playing sport and they're in groups. And sometimes they'll say, no, I've got lots of friends because I'm in the soccer team. And I've been in the soccer team for 5 years. And then, but we do an assessing process through peers where we say, okay, but are they talking to you outside of soccer? Are you getting invited to things? Are they messaging you? Are they calling you? Or are they responding when you invite them? And if it's not the case, then we say, well, keep playing soccer, but we need to find you a new group with an accepting source of friends with similar interests who does want to make contact with you. And also, Kenneth, just on that as well, like I mentioned, your son may be inadvertently doing something that's pushing people away. So often they're trying really hard, might be trying to be funny, they're trying to connect with people, they're trying to talk a lot, and they're really trying really hard to make friends, and they can't understand it. They're like, I'm trying, but I don't know why. And often they're very baffled. So often when they start week 1 with us, they'll say, I don't know, I feel like I'm doing what everyone else is doing, but everyone else seems to make friends easily and I don't. And like I said, they have a realization as they go through week by week, that I do interrupt. I do always talk about one thing. I am a bit of a bad sport. I don't like losing. So as well as them having realization of what hasn't worked, we give them new skills that do work better, a lot more helpful. Okay, thank you for that. It's really good to hear what people are having challenges with. Here's the myth that we hear a bit in peers out there, not in peers actually, but out there. They're fine. They'll work it out eventually. He's only 14, Wait till he's, when he's just going to mature a bit. But here's what the research tells us. If a 14-year-old isn't able to make friends with other 14-year-olds, they don't automatically get it by osmosis. So they'll end up with being a 24-year-old who doesn't have friends, or a 44 or a 64-year-old who doesn't have friends. And we teach people right up through all ages. So this is what the research tells us. If your young person doesn't know how to navigate friendships yet, then they may become an adult. He can't navigate friendships either. So teaching these skills in the teenage years and young adult years is the perfect time for your young person to learn this and start getting out into the world and making friends. So here's some more truths, and some of these are a bit hard to hear. We don't cover this in the peers program, I will say, but for your benefit as parents who are coming along to listen to this today, you'll probably know this already. These are some of the things our kids have trouble with. Topic initiation, especially if it's something that not outside of their special interest. Repetitive themes. For my son, it was Minecraft. That was pretty much all he talked about for many years, was Minecraft. He's much better now. One-sided conversations. So I'll come back to that, Lisa. Thank you. Lots of talking and not actually letting the other person get a word in. Or the opposite, being too quiet, let the other person do all the talking. Either way, it doesn't really work. Difficulty understanding social cues. We've mentioned that. Difficulty understanding the perspectives of others. So that's really difficult as well, understanding what it's like for the other person. So right throughout the peers program, with every role play video we watch, and we're going to watch one in a moment as an example, we ask the same questions. What was it like for the other person? Are they going to want to talk to me again? So they get very used to thinking, what was it like for the other person? So often our young people, before they come to us, have less involvement in social activities, lack of peer entry attempts. So often by then they've kind of given up. They say, I'm not even going to try anymore. I've had too much rejection. I'm staying in my room. I'm done. Few close reciprocal friendships. Social neglect and isolation, for sure. Often there's conflict because with that rigidity of thinking, a small conflict can often be friendship ending, which is why we teach that skill as well. Then they're often the target of teasing and bullying. And then even though they're the target of teasing and bullying, often they end up the one with a bad reputation, very unfairly, but that's how it is. What does that result in? Loneliness, depression, anxiety, often low self-esteem. It can impact academic performance. We often hear about young people who are withdrawn from school early. And even then, it can keep impacting their study life, dating, employment, even after they've left school, even into juvenile delinquency, substance abuse, and even suicide ideation and attempts. So social rejection is a very serious thing, which is why this program is so important. So now we have some solutions. So PEERS stands for our Program for the Education and Enrichment of Relational Skills. So you can see why we use the acronym. It's going to come back to Lisa Dale. Yes, grandson quite bright, hasn't had any significant education. Yeah, 2.5 years, remote area, isolated for a long time. Yeah, I'm looking for something that can elevate his self-worth, give him social skills, create more social situations into practice. So yeah, that's right, he wants to have friends. Yes, suspensions and bullying, absolutely. Yeah, thanks, Lisa. That is a very typical story for the young people we hear when they come into peers. You're in the right place. Okay, so what is peers? It's a proven, internationally acclaimed, research-based social skills course designed specifically for adolescents and young adults with autism, ADHD, or other social challenges. So you don't have to have a diagnosis to do peers. That's a question we often get. Absolutely not. Some do, some don't. Some we think probably would qualify, but they've never sought a diagnosis. Some are just anxious, and some just really think I would like some explicit instruction in social skills. So anyone who thinks they benefit from this program is very welcome to join us. Brief background of peers. It was developed in 2004 at UCLA. It's now used worldwide and has been translated into lots of languages, and it's very much evidence-based. So that means there's a lot of research that's been done on peers, and there's links to that on our website if you happen to love research. Lots of worldwide peer-reviewed studies on how effective it is. It's also unique in that it's parent or caregiver assisted. So if you're like me and had years of taking kids to OTs, both my kids, OTs, speech therapists, that kind of thing, often wondering, is this working? I'd just wait in the waiting room and they'd come out an hour later and we just had to get them to school and you'd pay the bill and kind of hope for the best. That's not what happens here. You are very much involved in what your young person will be learning, and you'll know exactly what they're learning and how they're going for sure. So we teach practical, real-life social skills here. And even though this program was created in America, it's adapted cross-culturally to be used across the world and here in Australia. I do want to touch on our neuroaffirming pledge. So we value neurodiversity here, absolutely, acceptance and authenticity. We very much honour the diverse ways people experience the world, and we respect everyone's unique perspectives and communication styles. So we recognise there's no one way to connect with others. What we teach in peers is strategies that are proven through research, to be more helpful, and we also look at why some things are a bit more risky. And ultimately, what we say to every young person is, it is your choice though. So we want our young people to be empowered and informed. So that means if your young person tells this really, inappropriate joke every time they meet a new person, after they've done the peers training with us, they will know that could be the thing that's pushing people away. Ultimately, it's up to them though. If they say that's part of my identity, I want to keep telling that joke, keep telling that joke. But at least now you know what might be happening. So we very much talk about personal choice here, and we do say if anything feels like camouflaging, we don't want people to use it. So here's a bit more about the program structure. I'm going to open up to questions in a moment, but I have got a sample lesson to show very briefly as well. So we're on for 14 weeks. Each weekly group lasts about 90 minutes, and we do have separate sessions for adolescents, young adults, and parents. Briefly, what you can expect in a session. So your young person, we start with homework review. Homework is practice. There's nothing written down. It's not homework like they're used to. It could be driving along in the car with you, practicing asking follow-up questions. Then we have, there's also phone calls as well, which I'll talk about in a moment. Then we have the lesson with a role play video. This is our new lesson for the week. We practice in the group. We talk about what the homework and practicing is coming up. And then we have our individual checkouts as well. And then in the parent social coaching group, we start with wins and challenges for the week. So we do have a separate parent session each week. We go through the lesson your young person is going to see. So you see it on a Monday ahead of your young person having it later in the week. Then we break out into smaller groups and we chat about how it's going. We give you lots of tips for how to coach your young person. You get coaching handouts every week as well, and lots of time for Q&A. So these are what the topics we teach. Finding a source of friends, conversation skills, starting, entering group conversations, exiting, exchanging contact information. So once you do meet someone and you find, oh, you like the Roblox, I like Roblox, we should catch up. How to get their contact details, how to make phone calls, literally what to say at the start of a phone call, what to say at the end of a phone call, how to find a common interest on the call. We talk about electronic communication. So your young person might be pushing people away on an online platform. We talk about social media for sure. We do one whole session on appropriate use of humour. So this is really important. This is actually one of the best ways to make friends if you're good at it, and the easiest way to push people away if we use it inappropriately. Talk about good sportsmanship and also organising get-togethers. We also talk about conflict and rejection skills as well. So how to respond to a disagreement. If someone comes to us and says, Chris, I'm really upset with you. I told you to take my seat at lunch and you didn't. Or if you need to bring up a disagreement with someone else. So you need to go up to your friend and say, you didn't come to my birthday party. How to do it appropriately so that the friendship is preserved. We talk about how to change your reputation. So as we go through the program, you will have some realizations, and certainly a young person will, about what they might have been doing that was inadvertently pushing people away. And we talk about how to have a different reputation going forward. And then we handle got some great strategies around handling bullying as well. So teasing, physical bullying, cyberbullying, and rumours and gossip. We also cover dating in the young adult program only. Everything from finding partners, letting someone know you like them, asking someone on a date, accepting rejection, everything around online dating and being safe on dates. So some really good content around dating as well. And your job will be as your young person's social coach. So your job will be to practice these skills, give them some feedback and coaching, and we'll teach you how to do that. You're going to encourage them to do that practicing each week. And then as we go along and they start finding groups that they would like to join to use these social skills on new people, you're going to help them do some research, find some groups they could join, and help them arrange get-togethers. So that's the formula. So we teach them the skills. There's lots of coaching in our groups and at home with you. We make sure they have access to peers, to potential new friends, and that's how we end up with friendships. So in the groups, we have a participation prize every week in the adolescent group. So there's an opportunity for them to win that every week, and it really encourages them to participate. We also offer a free one-on-one coaching session with you as a social coach. So anytime over the 14 weeks, if you really think you'd benefit from a one-on-one coaching session, you just book that in with us. So yeah, your young person will also be making phone calls. So over the 14 weeks, for the first 6 weeks, they're going to be practicing these newly learned skills on phone calls to each other. So we schedule those calls with you on the Monday night session. So you'll know who your young person's calling. We let them know the time and who's calling who. Again, we practice in the group with them how to make those phone calls. So that's a really good opportunity for them to use those skills over the first 6 weeks as well. Okay, I've got a quick sample lesson and then I'm going to open the floor to questions. So this sample lesson I'm going to do today is starting a conversation. So when we give this lesson, we always say, we will start, before you even think about talking to someone, we want to be assessing their interest. So if someone's in a cafe with their headphones on and they're reading a book and are in the conversation, perhaps they don't want to be interrupted. But are they looking at you? If they're making eye contact and smiling? Are they facing you? If it's in a group setting, have they opened the circle to let you in? Do they talk to you when you talk to them? They're all good signs. So there are some social errors, though, that people might make when starting an individual conversation, what we call socially risky behaviours to avoid. So we're going to start by watching this role play video. So in this one, Alina is in the black there, and she's doing something pretty risky when she's trying to start a conversation with Jordan. So have a look at what she does here that might be a bit risky.
Hey, do you ever go roller skating?
What?
Do you go roller skating?
No.
Why not? You should go.
Okay.
It's really fun. I go like every weekend.
Sweet.
There's this new skate park that just opened up.
I'm trying to watch something right now, so.
Oh, well, I'm just saying. It's really fun. They have like a student night every Thursday.
Cool.
You should definitely go.
Okay.
Okay, so then we have a chat about what went wrong there. So we'll have a chat about what Alina might have done when she started that conversation. So we use what we call Socratic questioning. So we'll put it to the group. What did she do? And they all raise their hand. Well, she just interrupted. She was talking about roller skating. Obviously that person didn't want to talk to her. Okay, how could you tell? We can see Jordan's face there. She's obviously looking down. Very short answers. At one point, she even says, "I'm trying to watch something here." So she wasn't very successful in trying to join that conversation. What was that like for Jordan? Probably a bit annoying. Probably thought Alina was a bit annoying. Would you want to talk to her again? Probably not. So in actual fact, this is what we do when we start a conversation. So I'll go through this pretty quickly. In the lesson, we obviously spend a bit of time on this. But what we normally want to do when we start a conversation, and often our young people will tell us, well, Mum just says, just go and say hello. Or I've always been told, just walk up and introduce yourself. But actually, that's a bit random. Imagine just walking up and saying, "Oh, hi, I'm Chris." That's actually really not how we start a conversation. This is how we do it. We look over, and of course, we're looking for those things that we mentioned before. Are they looking at me? Have they got headphones on? Are they in the middle of a conversation? Are they looking at a video on a phone? Perhaps now's not a good time. And then we use a prop, and that's so that we could be looking at our phone, looking over at them, so we're not staring. And we're looking for a common interest. So we use that common interest to start the conversation. So we actually teach this in week 6. So we've done a fair bit on conversation skills and trading information by now. Then this is how we start the conversation. We start with the common interest. We don't start with hello, and we don't start with hi, I'm Chris. We start with a comment, a question, or a compliment about the common interest we've noticed. And we're going to watch a role play video in a moment of that successfully. Then we trade information, and we talk about trading information in weeks 1 and 2, so our young people know what this is by now. Ask them about them, answer your own question if they don't ask you about you, follow-up questions, open-ended questions. So this is keeping the conversation going. All the while, we're assessing, do they want to be talking to me? Are they looking at me? Are they facing me? Are they talking to me? Maybe we'd introduce ourselves then, but even then, it's not necessarily required. So the introduction can come right at the end. So this is how it looks when we start a conversation using those steps.
Oh my god, I love that song.
Yeah, me too. This is the new video that just came out today.
No way! I'm dying to see that.
Yeah, it's so good.
That's awesome. Have you ever seen her in concert?
I have. I actually have tickets for her upcoming concert.
No way. The one that's coming up in 2 weeks?
Yeah, it's gonna be so great.
That's so cool.
Have you ever seen her perform?
No, I wish. I really want to.
Oh my gosh, she's amazing in concert. You need to see her.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Mhm.
By the way, I'm Alina.
I'm Jordan.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, so then we had to have a chat about, was that a bit more successful that time? Usually there's a good consensus. Yeah, that definitely seemed a lot better. And what was it like for the other person this time? Comfortable, friendly. What did you think of Alina? Nice, someone she'd probably want to talk to. And would you talk to her again? Probably. So they talked about their common interest. She used the book as a prop to kind of go over. She was assessing. She, only kept talking to her because she was talking to her back. They're both smiling. The body language is positive this time. So that's a much better way to start a conversation. And then we'll practice. So in the group, we would practice. We would get people starting conversations with each other, and we definitely want new parents to practice this with your young person as well. So that's example of one lesson. We do many lessons over the 14 weeks. And here's the success tip. Success tip. Your involvement is key. So we are with your young person for 90 minutes a week. You're with them all week. So you'll have lots of teaching opportunities to work with them. I just want to touch on some feedback we've had, and there's a lot of feedback on our website. I think we've got, 40-something 5-star reviews. This is Michelle. She actually did the course with me, with her daughter 2 years ago now, I think. So she found the course exceptional. Her daughter learnt a lot. It's definitely grown in confidence. Yeah, I remember saying that they had a bit of a giggle about some of the social faux pas that the parents did without realising. I will mention that. Often the parents say a lot. We learnt more, you learnt just as much from this course as a young person did. So that's some feedback from Michelle. Belinda, I did the program with her daughter probably the year before that. And she found that her daughter was really coming out of her shell. We would recommend the program. And Hannah. So Hannah's son did the program with me 2 years ago as well. And so she did a Google review and a Facebook review. If you want to read our Google reviews, they're all on the website. I guarantee they're all 100% real. And I would certainly be doing that if I was considering enrolling my young person. I'll be reading the Google reviews. So finally, what are the 3 essential keys to successful social skills training? We want evidence-based curricula. This isn't thrown together. It's a very carefully engineered program. Lots of proof it works. Again, all the peer-reviewed studies are on our website if you'd like to read them. We teach concrete behaviour and skills, and we teach it in the way that we know that young neurodiverse people learn. Concrete behaviours and skills. Nothing's vague. Nothing's left to interpretation. We teach it very clearly, and we involve parents in the treatment. Lots of practicing at home. So what does it cost? That's another question we get. So the cost for the whole program is $200 a week if you take advantage of the upfront payment discount. So it's a 14-week program, so it's $2,800 altogether. That's all your enrollment interviews, your session every week, your young person session every week, weekly handouts. There's a peers app that you have that has all the information in there as well. The incentive prizes, all the support and coaching you need throughout the 14-week program, including that one-on-one coaching session as well. And actually all the role play videos that we use throughout the 14 weeks, you have lifetime access to, and all the course materials and the handouts you have lifetime access to as well. So this is meant to be a one and done for this 14-week program. So you can keep coming back to these materials in 6 months, 2 years, 5 years, if you need to, as things come up for your young person. We also have a payment plan available, which is pay 50% upfront, and then we invoice you $118 a week for 14 weeks. If you happen to have NDIS funding, we do provide receipts and invoices so you can seek reimbursement depending on your plan. A bit about our next intake. We are enrolling now for May, and in fact, enrollment's technically closed a few days ago. We've only got a couple spaces available. Tuesday is completely full. And Miriam might be able to update me on this, but I'm pretty sure we have a couple left Wednesday and a few Thursday. And we have a few spaces left in the young adult group. And once they're gone, they're gone. So if you're thinking of joining us, now's a great time to nab one of the final places. So that's really what I wanted to cover in this process. So contact us if you'd like to enrol. I'm going to open to questions now. Yes, the age brackets. So Mark, our adolescent program is for 13 to 17-year-olds. We will sometimes take a 12-year-old If they're just starting high school, we would assess if they're developmentally at the right level. But it's a 12 to 17 for adolescent, 18 to 35 for the young adult. The programs are the same, except we teach dating in the young adult. If they're 17, we would talk to them and talk to you. Some fit better in the adolescent program, some fit better in the young adult program. Awesome, thanks, Mark. So if you're interested, you can complete an enrolment form. The next step is a discovery call with me. It's just a free chat. We will then do an enrolment interview with your young person if you think it's needed. If you can say to us, they definitely want to do it, I've spoken to them, then we can go ahead and enroll them. If you're not sure, or if you think they might not be too keen, we would definitely interview them first. And then you pay your deposit and we enroll you from there. So feel free to drop something in the chat if you would like us to contact you and send you an enrolment form. Otherwise, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and open the floor to questions.